So interestingly enough, this is a gas line pipe right-of-way, and so no trees are allowed to grow here anyway. So having it as a prairie, a field, is perfect anyway. In the past, we had spent significant amount of time keeping it mowed, keeping it grass, but this is just so much more beneficial to the environment, easy to maintain, a legitimate reason to keep the trees down. So when the church acquired the property in the early 2000s, this was actually farmed. This was still an active agricultural field. And with our preschool right up next to it, it was decided it would be best not to have it in crop production, which usually involves some sort of a pesticide spraying and other intensive agricultural maintenance practices. So an early member, John Helmer, suggested that we apply to have it as part of the CRP, Conservation Reserve Program. And so it had been put in at that time and no longer plowed. Now, maintaining it didn't seem to get the sort of attention that it needed. It did develop a number of invasives, or at least very aggressive natives, did develop a number of trees that just weren't appropriate for quail habitat. So last year, when it became known, or a few years ago, when it became known that we needed to re-up our program, we decided we need to use this as an opportunity to re-engage the congregation, re-engage the community. Community standards for pollinator gardens have grown significantly over the last few years. Wonderful groups like Quail Forever, Quail Unlimited, the Soil and Water Conservation District, the Department of Natural Resources, the city of Greencastle, where I'm the city planner and work with our stormwater management program, all realize this is so much better for our soil management. So the congregation decided, let's reapply, let's see what we need to develop the property to improve the habitat. We had several volunteer work days where we went in and cleared trees that were beginning to overtake the fields, clear invasives. It has made it less necessary to mow the gas line area. We are still trying to maintain a mowed path around the perimeter of the field so that we can more easily access the areas that need to be cleaned up and maintained. We realize that there's a limit as to how much space should be used for trails through the property, but it's also been pointed out those actually can be very important fire breaks if we decide to use a controlled burn to manage any of the plant or overgrowth. Well, one opportunity that we've tried to utilize is the fact that we have an outdoor chapel in the backwoods here. So this is an opportunity for our congregation members and the community at large to come and interact with all of the plants, the wildlife. There were already deer and certainly pollinators in the area, but we have definitely seen a significant increase in the pollinators in particular. The bees are just everywhere in the fields from the earliest part of spring through the late part of fall. So I don't think we were quite seeing that when it was just being allowed to go revert to original growth. I just never really thought about all of these different sort of plants that in some settings might just be called weeds, but they all have names, very distinct growth cycles. They flower at different periods, so it's really fun. The other nice thing about the native plants, grasses, and the flowers that are planted, they have such a deeper root system that really stabilizes the soil. It prevents erosion, which as city planner and our stormwater manager, I'm very concerned about. So this is actually improving the soil and preventing stormwater that comes off of our parking lot through this grass field. When it gets here, it immediately slows down, it percolates into the soil. It really is so beneficial. And then of course it provides the benefit of bee habitat and bird and other native wildlife. One thing that I have found as a kid who's always lived you know, within blocks of the courthouse square, a town kid, I'm having to get used to walking into a field environment where, you know, rabbits will suddenly jump, and I jump too. So it's nice to have an opportunity where kids from an urban setting also have an opportunity to kind of interact with a nice field. It provides an opportunity when property owners, other large institution owners who have large areas of lawn that they're trying to continually maintain, they wonder what sort of options are there, they can come and look at this and realize that this is a positive for stormwater and for soil. It does require a level of maintenance, however. It does take some specific planning, and that's what is fantastic to have folks like Build Fielding with Quail Forever and other resources to help plan those sort of areas so that it's done well, it's done properly, and it is a more manageable garden setting. I knew very little, and I'll have to say I'm still learning about quail in general, other than they're almost like the canary in the coal mine. They're a great indicator of whether your natural environment is improving. If it's sustaining a quail habitat, it's a quality natural environment. So we are still looking for those sort of opportunities to realize, hey, we do have quail here. We have members from the congregation. We have some folks from Putnam County Removes Invasive Plants, or PC RIP, that come out and help from time to time. So that's been a nice outreach opportunity for our congregation. Speaking as a member of Peace Lutheran, not as a city planner, our congregation feels it's important for Christianity to show that we do respect the natural environment, that it is important to be able to maintain that as one of the resources that God has given us, and to basically show important stewardship for the natural environment. Bible study, some very casual evening worship services out here. Haven't done anything so far this year. As I mentioned, we called a new pastor, so we've been without a pastor for a little bit, but I anticipate our pastor Bill Winter will want to be utilizing this area too.
I got involved in this program or project through a quail meeting. John Helmer, the local veterinarian, is a member of this church, and they wanted to redo this or get it back in compliance with the CRP program. I met with a gentleman, we looked at it. They have done a lot of brush removal and had a grinder in here and did that, but it still needed, it had a lot of regrowth and needed sprayed. They didn't have access to a sprayer, so I brought Quail's tractor and sprayer here, give the operator a quick rundown course on how to spray, and turned them loose. He finished it up. 2 weeks later, he said he had the seed. We came in and I seeded it because it was a church, and the whole 9 yards of being trying to get a better environment or pollinator habitat, quail habitat. Quail has always done churches and governments. We don't charge them a dime. We just go ahead and foot the cost if they buy the seed.